Hello and welcome to Country Sports TV. I'm Ian the Gun, and as a gunsmith I took Pat the wife over to America for a couple of weeks, and our friend David, first day, took us round local gun shops. Loads of rifles and pistols, and shotguns tended mainly to be pumps and semi-autos. The second gun shop we went into, very interesting guy, had a long discussion about chokes and patterning and British proof marks and European proof marks. But once again, lack of clothing in the gun shop itself, filled with rifles, shotguns and a few air rifles. And along with the stuffed animals on the wall, there was a plaque. This year will go down in history. For the first time, a civilized nation has full gun registration. Our streets will be safer, our police more efficient, and the world will follow our lead into the future. Adolf Hitler, 1935. Little semi-auto they had in the shop for sale for home defence. Of course, we would never be allowed to have one of those in England, would we? He was explaining that the Kentucky rifles, a lot of them were actually made in Pennsylvania. This is an Italian copy. .45 caliber, and actually shoots like a dream. Then the next day we took a little drive out and went skeet shooting. That's the clubhouse. The rules are stuck on the wall, and they got 2 or 3 skeet layouts, and you just turn up, pay your money as a team and just shoot.
Nicely struck. That was nicely done.
Oh. If I were smart, I would have brought the Guarini up. Pull it.
And we had a break, and the next day drove out of Flower Town in Pennsylvania and drove over the Delaware and down into New Jersey, and we went on the biggest clay layout I've ever seen. So big you got to drive round in golf carts from stand to stand.
Was that first one?
Oh. The one thing I don't like about this is you see targets from other side. That'll fuck you up if the lights go on. Pardon. He shot me already, see? Oh.
Then we took a little hop on a plane and we flew from Newark to Salt Lake City in Utah, and Pat drove as I was navigating all through Utah, heading north up into Idaho and then into Montana. The scenery was stunning. We would drive for a few hours and then stop off and have breakfast, pancakes and syrup, and then as you drove up the hill and you started climbing, you'd then hit the snow. The roads are quite dry and it's quite easy to drive on when it's like that, and then as you come down it absolutely clears again along the valleys and it's lovely driving. It was cold though. It was only about 2 or 3. That was my attempt to show Pat driving in America. This is a little village, and for the tourists they got the old wagons and that lying around. Then we came to a crossroads. We had to make a decision. Keep heading north or go west across the Rockies to Salmon and then up to Montana that way. Well, it said Big Hole Valley and we decided it looked nice up through the valley, so we took a little trip on the river. This river just winds all the way up through the valley, and there were salmon or steelheads in the river. You could see them swimming up and down. Big Hole Battlefield, absolutely amazing little place. 4th Infantry had a battle with the Native American Nez Perce tribe. Absolutely fascinating. Only the ranger was there. It was closed up because of the bad weather, and she was just there turning the heating on, cleaning it up, ready for the visitors for when the snow started to clear. Turns out that the Native American, the Nez Perce tribe, were bivouacked along the valley bottom by the river, and the teepees are there, or just the sticks from the teepees are there, and the American infantry were held up along the pine trees. Then, a little bit of ice road trucking. We then went higher over the top and we hit snow and ice. And then as you come down, it absolutely clears. And all along the trail that we were going on was where Lewis and Clark in 1805 travelled up through Idaho and Montana. And there's little plaques on the wall on the parking base telling you what they did there and what the historical significance was. Then you come over the top and you hit Flathead Lake, Montana. The view is absolutely stunning. On all the postcards, this view is on all the postcards all over the place. I was told if we had more time we could have taken a boat and gone out fishing, but we only had 2 days in and then we drove out for a day. I had a day off and drove out and drove round, and there was the National Bison Reserve, bighorn sheep. I think that's a beaver dam, but I'm not sure. And bison, real bison. This was the ranch where they were breeding the bison. The big bull is about the size of a Chevrolet, and the cows are about the size of a Dexter. Then the next day it was time to head back home, and we drove back through and stopped at little places on the way going back to Salt Lake City, and this had American old army wagons, and these wagons, I understand, were from the 7th Cavalry, famous Custard. Of course, Little Bighorn is about 300 miles to the east of where we were, just north of Yellowstone Park. This is Trapper's Peak, and it's a flat piece of ground up in the Rockies, and the big companies that bought furs would set up a camp here, and they'd have gambling casinos and saloons, and obviously the girls as well. And the trappers would come down out of the mountains and sell the furs to the companies. Of course, the companies would then turn round and sell the trappers all the food and equipment for the next year's trapping, and take all their money in the gambling dens. And as you're driving back, obviously new wildlife. White-tailed deer and more big-horn sheep. They were rutting, and when their horns and their heads clicked together, it sounds like a rifle going off, and it echoed all through the valley. There's another plaque for Lewis and Clark. Lewis Clark there, September the 3rd to the 4th, 1805. And it shows you where you are. And then the last day before we went home, we went to the Philadelphia Cricket Club, and they've got a trap layout, a little clubhouse, little lodge. And this is across the second golf course that they closed down during the winter. So they can only trap shoot during the summer, during the winter.
Oh! Oh!
And that was my trip to the United States, a real busman's holiday, and we had a wonderful time.